binds to 4 carbon atoms before the photosynthesis takes place, and that's why it grows so fast. Other examples are corn or sugar beet, for example. Well, it's really easy to grow. There's no fertilization used, only a little when it is planted. There's hardly any maintenance need, so it's a real easy crop, you can say. It's not a food crop or fodder crop such as hemp or flax, so it's only grown for other reasons. And it grows well in most types of soil. It doesn't have so many needs. The structure of the rhizomes improve the soil life and the structure. And most important, it captures a lot of CO2. It captures approximately 4 times the CO2 amount of a European loaf forest. So that's why Miscanthus is a real nice crop. If you see, maybe we can go back. If you look to the picture, there are some current markets for the use of Miscanthus nowadays. This is a picture from Carbon Grass, an organization that sells rhizomes and help finding the right yields and the right soil to grow in. Later on, you will go a bit more into, so Erik will dive deeper into this chain. So I think we can go to the next slide and see there are 2 varieties of Miscanthus. The giganteus one, it's bigger than the sinensis one. And if you look at the application possibilities, the chips we can use in bioconcrete for building boards and building blocks. The fibers can be used for bioplastic, cladding, insulation blankets, the stems for insulation mats and straw bales. The stems from the sinensis can be used for roofing. And in that we can replacing the thatch imported from China. And nowadays 80% of the thatch the reed that we use for the roofing, the thatch, comes from China. And we have seen in the Corona period, for example, that it's important to try to become less depending on other parts of the world, besides the amount of traveling that needs to be done to bring the materials over here. The lignin that are within the stems are used for binders and resins within asphalt, for example, in polymers, composites, etc. And the cellulose that comes free can be used in paper, cardboard, composites. So even though it's not a food crop, it can be used for a lot of applications. And let me give you one nice example of a nice application, but without a closed loop. Xeriton, it's a non-cementitious concrete. It's made from local raw materials, clay, natural water, like water from a ditch or a river, truss as a binding agent, and Miscanthus as a filler. Add slaked lime, and concrete can be made without any cement. This is redeveloping by Frank Bucher somebody in Friesland, and it's called xyriton, but the great invention does not mean that there's a market for it, because if no further development is taking place, there's no testing and validation, there's no certification, the market don't approve of using this material, even though it can solve part of the problems that we face in the concrete sector. So here you see an example of a nice, I think it's a nice development, but the chain doesn't close, so it's not a market ready by far, I think. So that's a pity, and we could change that.
I think with the approach later on in the slide, it will also become clear how that would work.
Yes, it does. A perennial crop takes a while before the yield is maximized. So for a farmer, you can't decide this year to grow Miscanthus and the next year to grow flax. It's not a rotation crop. And in year one, there's no harvesting at all. Maybe 5% of the maximum is, hoe zeg je dat, bereikt, attained,
like,
is yielded. In year two, the leaf waste of the Miscanthus crop is used to fertilize the soil. So that starts already in year two. For own compost. That's why no fertilization is necessary with this crop. And in the second year, we approximately yield 30 to 50%. So it takes about 4 or 5 years before the crop, the yield is maximized. And therefore, it's important to start a value chain with that you can rely on before you start growing this as a farmer. So that's why it's important and it's necessary to start working and collaborate within a transparent system and based on vertrouwen.
Trust.
Thank you. Yeah. Trust and relationships. So farmers dare to grow this crop and put it into this value chain.
Right. So, as said, we use this basic approach within BBoBB to look at per square on the graph on the top of the screen, just to really look at what does this part of the value chain entail really. So when you start with land selection, and that's where I'll be starting, and I'll just walk you through this entire graph on how we did this for Miscanthus in the north of the Netherlands. We ended this approach or this research on 2024. So we've been using the knowledge that we garnered here in the year 2025. So it already provided us with a lot of insights, which I'll be sharing with you in a bit. So when you just start looking at how the value chain looks and how it can be mapped, on the left end of the screen, you see who selects the land. And you see a couple of parties there. We've included some names on the people who we've actually spoken to as well. That would be on the trader side, let's deal in green, Miscanthus Nederland, the Miscanthus group, Carbon Grass, which Annemieke used a picture of as well. Miscanthus Agri, Cradle Crops. These are all types of parties that are already involved in trading for the rhizomen, basically the seeds or the stems for this type of crop. And they're heavily involved in what type of land would be most suitable for growing Miscanthus on. Also farmers or landowners, which is very logical, I suppose. The people who own the land, they select also what type of land would be most suitable for which types of crops. But these are very important in chain development, much more important than some people might think. But this is basically where everything starts. The soil is highly important. And it also really impacts the business case on a whole. Because when you start looking at what type of land do you select, Annemieke already mentioned, you need to really lock in that land for a long period of time. If you choose to grow Miscanthus on land that is usually used for farming, for example, cattle or food crops, those are crops that usually yield a lot of money. Cattle actually, that's a whole different business model. If you replace it one-on-one with that, it's a very tough market to compete with. But if you choose a part of that land, a part of that soil, it's a whole different business model. If you use lands that are usually not being able to be valorized, for example, industry terrains that are not being used currently or for the next 10 years or something. If you look at strokes of land around environmental zones, natural reserves, all those types of grounds are very different from your regular agricultural land. And those might be just the types of land that you want to focus on when you're growing Miscanthus. So the business case is very reliant on which type of land are you selecting. So then comes land management, because usually when someone selects a type of land to grow something on, someone will manage that land. That might be the farmers or the landowners themselves. It may be local governments. It may be people that are working for the farmers or landowners or local governments. These people are very impactful on how to manage the land. Because at some point you want to that's something interesting about Miscanthus. You don't really sow it. I'm not really sure what the translation is, but you pot it in the Netherlands. You put it into the ground and then it grows out of that stem. So you want to put that in the ground at some point, and that's the land managers will be very impactful on when and how to do that. Who supplies the inputs that are usually also those traders, for example. You see on the screen the rhizomes. So those are the stems. They come from Miscanthus Nederland, Miscanthus Group, Carbon Grass, Terra Vesta, Miscanthus Agri, Cradle Crops, those types of parties. That's just in the Netherlands. So that's what we imported from, for example. They might also be active in other types of other regions in the North Sea region, but something that you can really do is really use this mapping principle to do that in your own region. But these are for the Netherlands. And the plantlets from Dealing Green, those would be growing small and inside, for example, an encased area, just to really have them grow in a safe environment for that first year, to avoid, for example, geese that would pluck it out or other types of influences from the external area that would damage the crop on an early stage.
And to make carbon credits more easy to be given for.
Exactly. Yeah. So also who grows the crops? This would make sense. When you sow it, you also want to grow it, but you need to maintain it, look at it. With Miscanthus, something very interesting is that you don't really need to pay too much attention to it while it grows. You need to protect it from the external influences that I just mentioned, but it requires little fertilization, requires little getting onkruid, getting weeds away, etc. So it's a friendly crop to do when you don't have too much time to attend to it as well. Then who harvests the crops? Those would be the farmers or contracting companies such as Stuut, De Haan, in Hanze and Wetlands here in the north of the Netherlands.